I gripped the steering wheel of my truck tightly as I barreled down the desolate road, the night stretching out before me like an endless abyss. It was a route I had driven countless times before, but tonight, something felt different. The air was heavy with an eerie stillness, and a sense of foreboding settled deep within me. As I navigated the winding highway, the flickering glow of my headlights illuminated the dark corners of the road, revealing shadows that seemed to dance and writhe in the peripheral vision. My heart raced as I caught glimpses of unearthly figures darting in and out of the darkness, their eyes gleaming with a malevolent glow. A shiver ran down my spine as I realized I was being pursued. Every instinct within me screamed to run, to escape the impending horror that pursued me. I glanced over my shoulder, and a surge of terror gripped my heart. The air was stale, heavy with the weight of forgotten secrets. It was a temporary respite, a fleeting sanctuary in the face of impending doom. With each passing moment, I could feel their presence drawing closer, their dark energy permeating the air around me. Their eerie silence only served to intensify the terror that gripped my very soul. I couldn't quite make out what these creatures were, but their presence was undeniable. They moved with unnatural speed, their forms shifting and distorting as they chased after me, their hunger evident in their relentless pursuit. Every fiber of my being screamed for survival, pushing me beyond the limits of my physical being. I pushed the pedal to the floor, my truck roaring to life as I tried to outrun my pursuers. The engine strained against the strain, but the creatures kept pace, their unnerving growls echoing through the night. They seemed to be toying with me, reveling in my fear and desperation. In a desperate attempt to lose them, I took a sharp turn onto a side road, hoping to throw them off my trail. The eerie silence that followed made my skin crawl. Had I managed to escape? Or were they simply biding their time, waiting for the perfect moment to strike? My question was answered when I caught sight of their glowing eyes in my rearview mirror. They were still there, unyielding in their pursuit. Panic welled up within me, but I knew I had to keep going, to find a way to survive this nightmarish ordeal. As I continued down the dark road, a glimmer of hope flickered in the distance, a small gas station, its neon lights cutting through the darkness like a beacon of safety. I sped towards it, praying that its sanctuary would offer me respite from the relentless creatures that pursued me. The gas station loomed ahead, its familiar shape providing a sense of relief. I pulled into the parking lot, the sound of my screeching tires piercing the silence. The eerie figures that had been chasing me screeched to a halt, their menacing presence frozen in place. I leaped out of my truck, my heart pounding, and rushed inside the gas station, slamming the door shut behind me. The store was empty, but the flickering fluorescent lights cast an eerie glow over the shelves lined with snacks and drinks. I approached the cashier's counter, desperately searching for any sign of life. But to my horror, I found a single note, hastily scrawled, "Beware the highway hunters. They are always watching. Stay in the light." My blood ran cold as I realized the full extent of the danger I was in. These creatures were not bound by the rules of our world. They were supernatural hunters, lurking in the shadows, waiting for unsuspecting prey on the desolate highways. With newfound determination, I grabbed a flashlight from the shelf and made my way back to my truck. I knew that as long as I stayed in the light, they couldn't touch me. The flashlight became my lifeline, illuminating the road ahead as I drove, keeping the creatures at bay. The pursuit continued, the creatures lurking just beyond the edges of the illuminated road. But I pressed on, knowing that my only chance of survival was to keep moving, to stay in the light. Hours passed, and the first rays of dawn broke through the horizon. With each passing mile, the creatures grew more elusive, their presence fading until they were nothing more than a distant memory. I finally pulled into the delivery destination, my heart pounding with a mixture of relief and exhaustion. The supernatural hunters had been left behind, their domain confined to the darkness of the highways. As I stepped out of my truck, I knew I had been forever changed by that nightmarish encounter. The highways were no longer just routes to me, they were treacherous paths haunted by supernatural predators. And though I had survived, the memory of those glowing eyes would forever haunt my nightmares. Let's hop onto story number 2, but before I begin reading, make sure that you have subscribed to Mr. Scare for regular horror podcasts. I gripped the steering wheel tightly as our car veered off the main road, the tires kicking up gravel as we made our way towards the abandoned rest stop. The rain pelted against the windshield, casting an eerie shadow over the desolate landscape. My friends, Sarah, Mark, and Emily, exchanged excited glances, their anticipation palpable in the air. We had heard rumors of the rest stop's haunted past, tales of restless spirits and unexplained phenomena that had plagued anyone foolish enough to venture there after dusk. But we were thrill seekers, drawn to the mysteries that lay hidden in the darkness. With adrenaline coursing through our veins, we had made the unanimous decision to explore this abandoned relic. As we pulled up to the decrepit building, the flickering lights above the entrance sent a chill down my spine. The rest stop stood as a forgotten monument to the past, its cracked windows and crumbling walls bearing witness to years of neglect. We stepped out of the car, our footsteps echoing ominously in the silence. The door creaked open, revealing a musty interior illuminated only by the dim glow of our flashlights. The air was heavy with an oppressive stillness as we cautiously made our way through the corridors. Graffiti-covered walls told tales of past visitors, their messages faded with time. Each step seemed to resonate with a sense of foreboding. We ventured deeper into the rest stop, our nerves on edge, our senses heightened. A feeling of unease settled upon us, as if unseen eyes were watching our every move. Shadows danced along the walls, distorting into grotesque forms that seemed to shift and whisper in the corner of our vision. As we entered a dimly lit room, a shiver ran down my spine. The walls were adorned with faded photographs, frozen moments captured in time. Faces stared back at us, their expressions filled with anguish and despair. I felt a wave of sorrow wash over me, as if the pain of those captured souls seeped into my very being. Suddenly, the air turned icy cold, and a low, disembodied moan echoed through the room. We exchanged terrified glances, the realization dawning upon us that we were not alone. The spirits of the restless were awakened, and they hungered for our presence. A gust of wind extinguished our flashlights, plunging us into complete darkness. Panic gripped our hearts as we fumbled for each other's hands, desperately trying to find a way out. But the spirits, vengeful and relentless, had trapped us within their malevolent realm. Whispers filled the air, their voices merging into a cacophony of torment and despair. Cold gusts of wind blew through the room, carrying with them the echoes of distant cries and anguished pleas. The walls seemed to close in around us, trapping us in a nightmarish maze. With trembling voices, we called out to the spirits, pleading for mercy, begging for release. But our pleas fell on deaf ears as their presence grew stronger. They taunted us with their spectral forms, their ethereal figures flickering in and out of existence. Hours passed, each moment dragging on like an eternity. Our bodies and spirits weakened under the relentless assault. But just when all hope seemed lost, a glimmer of light appeared at the end of a corridor. It beckoned to us, promising a way out of this nightmare. Summoning the last remnants of our strength, we ran towards the light, pushing past the malevolent entities that clawed at our backs. As we burst through the exit, the weight of the spirits lifted, and the rest stop vanished behind us. We collapsed on the rain-soaked ground, gasping for breath, our bodies trembling with exhaustion. The night had taken its toll on us, leaving us forever changed. We vowed never to speak of that night again, but the memory would haunt us, a constant reminder of the darkness that lurked just beneath the surface. And so, dear readers, heed my warning. Some places are better left undisturbed, for there are forces beyond our comprehension that are best left untouched. The spirits that dwell in the shadows hunger for our souls, and once they have tasted our fear, they will never let us go. I glanced at my rearview mirror, the headlights of my car cutting through the darkness of the deserted highway. The rain pounded against the windshield, obscuring my view and adding to the eerie atmosphere that enveloped me. I had been driving for hours, the monotony broken only by the sound of the rain and the occasional thunder rumbling in the distance. As I navigated the winding road, a figure emerged from the darkness ahead. A hitchhiker, drenched from head to toe, stood by the side of the road, thumb outstretched. I hesitated for a moment, but something about the situation felt off. Against my better judgment, I pulled over. The hitchhiker climbed into the passenger seat, water dripping onto the floor of my car. He had a wild look in his eyes, and his voice carried a sense of urgency as he spoke. "You have to listen to me," he said, his voice trembling. "I know what's going to happen." Curiosity mingled with caution as I asked him to elaborate. He claimed to possess the ability to foresee accidents before they occurred. He told me about a terrible crash that would happen just up ahead, claiming multiple lives if we didn't intervene. My heart raced as I contemplated his words. Could I really trust this stranger? Was he some kind of deranged individual seeking to manipulate me? But there was a sincerity in his eyes that I couldn't ignore. With a mix of fear and determination, I decided to take a leap of faith. I continued driving, following his instructions as he guided me through a series of backroads. The rain continued to pour, creating an almost claustrophobic atmosphere within the car. Suddenly, the hitchhiker pointed ahead. "It's here," he whispered. I squinted through the rain-splattered windshield, and my heart sank. A car had veered off the road, crashed into a tree, and burst into flames. The scene was a horrifying tableau of destruction, and the cries for help pierced through the storm. Without hesitation, I pulled over and ran towards the wrecked car, the hitchhiker close behind me. Together, we managed to pry open the jammed door and pull the injured occupants to safety, just moments before the flames engulfed the vehicle. As we caught our breath, I turned to the hitchhiker, gratitude and questions swirling within me. But he was gone, vanished into thin air as if he had never been there at all. I stood there, stunned, unsure of what had just transpired. Days turned into weeks, and the memory of that fateful encounter stayed with me. I searched for answers, delving into the realm of the supernatural, desperate to understand the events that had unfolded. But no explanation could satisfy my restless mind. Life returned to a semblance of normalcy, but the encounter haunted me. I couldn't shake the feeling that the hitchhiker had known more than he had let on, that there was a greater purpose to our meeting. Months passed, and I began to notice subtle changes in my life. Small moments of coincidence that seemed to defy explanation. A feeling of being in the right place at the right time, averting danger by mere moments. Had the hitchhiker somehow altered my fate? Had he unlocked some hidden power within me? Questions swirled through my mind, but the answers remained elusive. Now, as I drive through the rain-soaked highways, a sense of responsibility weighs heavily upon me. I keep my eyes open, ever vigilant for signs of impending danger. And if ever I encounter another lost soul on the side of the road, offering warnings of the future, I will listen, for I know now that some knowledge is born from the depths of the unknown, and sometimes, it is our duty to act upon it. So, fellow travelers, be cautious as you journey through the night. You never know who may cross your path or what secrets they may carry. Trust your instincts, but also be open to the possibility that the unimaginable might be closer than you think. I tightened my grip on the steering wheel as my headlights pierced through the dense fog that enveloped the lonely highway. It was late at night, and the rain had turned the road into an eerie reflection of dim streetlights. My heart raced with a mix of excitement and unease as I navigated the unfamiliar route. The fog grew thicker, obscuring my vision and making it difficult to see more than a few feet ahead. Panic started to rise within me as I realized I had taken a wrong turn and was now completely lost in this desolate part of the country. My phone had no signal, leaving me without any means of assistance. Just when I was beginning to lose hope, a faint glow emerged from the mist. Squinting my eyes, I saw the outline of buildings, a small town that appeared seemingly out of nowhere. A surge of relief washed over me as I approached the town, hopeful that I could find directions or even just a place to rest. The town seemed frozen in time, its streets lined with old-fashioned lampposts and quaint storefronts. But there was something unsettling about its stillness. Not a single person roamed the streets, and not a single sound pierced the silence. It was as if time had stood still, trapping this place in a perpetual state of abandonment. Curiosity got the better of me, and against my better judgment, I parked my car and stepped out. The air was heavy with an eerie stillness, sending a chill down my spine. I walked cautiously through the town, peering into windows, but the buildings were empty, devoid of any signs of life. As I made my way deeper into the town, a sense of foreboding washed over me. The silence was oppressive, and the fog seemed to thicken around me, closing in like a suffocating embrace. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched, that unseen eyes followed my every move. In the distance, I spotted a flickering light, a small diner. Hope surged within me, and I quickened my pace, my footsteps echoing in the empty streets. Pushing open the creaky door, I was greeted by the sight of an empty room, its tables covered in a thick layer of dust. I called out, my voice bouncing off the walls, but there was no response. Fear gnawed at my insides as I turned to leave, but the door slammed shut with a deafening bang. My heart raced as I struggled with the handle, panic rising within me. Suddenly, the silence was shattered by the sound of laughter, a cacophony of mocking voices that seemed to come from all directions. I spun around, searching for the source of the chilling laughter, but the room remained empty. That's when I saw them, the residents of this town. They emerged from the shadows, their gaunt faces twisted into grotesque grins. Their eyes glowed with an otherworldly light, and their movements were jerky and unnatural. I stumbled backward, desperate to escape their grasp. But the town had me in its clutches, its foggy grip tightening around me. They surrounded me, their laughter growing louder and more sinister, echoing in my ears. With one final surge of adrenaline, I broke free from their grasp, racing through the town, my heart pounding in my chest. The fog seemed to consume everything, swallowing the town and its malevolent residents as if they had never existed. I found my car, drenched in sweat and trembling with fear. Without looking back, I sped away, the memory of that cursed town forever etched in my mind. I knew then that I had encountered something beyond human understanding, something that lurked in the shadows, waiting for unsuspecting travelers to stumble upon its dark secrets. So, dear reader, heed my warning. If you find yourself lost on a foggy night and stumble upon an abandoned town along the highway, turn away and never look back. For there are places in this world that are better left undiscovered, and the residents that dwell within them are not what they appear to be. I stepped out of the car, stretching my legs after hours of driving. The neon sign of the motel flickered ominously, casting an eerie glow on the desolate stretch of highway. The tiredness was creeping up on us, and the sight of the motel promised much-needed rest for my family. We entered the reception area, and the door creaked open, as if reluctant to welcome us. The air inside was heavy and musty, filled with an unsettling silence. An elderly man with hollow eyes stood behind the counter, his smile too wide and his demeanor too unsettling for comfort. "Welcome to the Pineview Motel," he said in a gravelly voice. "How can I help you?" We booked a room for the night and followed the man down a dimly lit corridor. The walls were covered in faded floral wallpaper, peeling at the edges, and the carpet felt damp under our shoes. A sense of unease settled over me, but I brushed it off as exhaustion. As we entered our room, a musty odor assaulted our senses. The furnishings were outdated and worn, casting an atmosphere of neglect. I tried to shake off the feeling, assuring my family that it was just a temporary stop for the night. As the night wore on, strange noises echoed through the motel. Footsteps shuffled outside our door, whispers drifted through the thin walls, and doors creaked open and shut. Each time I peeked outside, there was no one in sight. I felt a growing unease, as if we were being watched. In the morning, we made our way to the motel's restaurant for breakfast. The tables were covered in stained tablecloths, and the smell of decay lingered in the air. The deranged owner, Mr. Callahan, served us with a twisted smile, his eyes gleaming with something sinister. Throughout our stay, Mr. Callahan's behavior became increasingly bizarre. He would hover around our room, spying through the window, and leave unsettling messages on our door. We felt trapped, isolated in this nightmare motel. One night, as we lay in our beds, the power went out, plunging the motel into darkness. Panic swelled within me, and I fumbled for my phone, desperate for any source of light. In the dim glow, I saw Mr. Callahan lurking in the hallway, a knife glinting in his hand. Heart pounding, I woke my family, whispering urgently that we had to escape. We crept out of our room, avoiding the creaking floorboards. The motel was silent, except for the sound of our racing hearts. Just as we reached the exit, Mr. Callahan appeared before us, his eyes filled with madness. He lunged at us, wielding the knife, but we managed to dodge his attack. Adrenaline coursed through our veins as we fought back, overpowering him. We sprinted to our car, never looking back, and sped away from that accursed motel. As the distant lights of the motel faded behind us, we knew we had escaped a fate too terrible to imagine. We eventually reached a police station, where we reported the horrors we had experienced. Mr. Callahan was apprehended, and the motel was shut down. But the memories of that night still haunt us, a reminder of the darkness that can hide behind a welcoming facade. Since then, our road trips have been cautious, and we carefully choose our accommodations. But deep down, we know that the shadow of Pineview Motel will forever linger, a reminder that evil can lurk in the most unsuspecting places. So, if you ever find yourself on a desolate stretch of highway and stumble upon the Pineview Motel, I implore you, keep driving. Let the flickering neon sign serve as a warning, for beneath its false allure lies a deranged and sadistic owner who preys on unsuspecting travelers, ready to unleash their darkest nightmares.